Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right, we have a Mr. Cypress, and this is the Orchid leaf in the Vow-B. We have a Danitrio Takumi Moonlit grass. We have a Mr. Cypress Maple in the Woods. We have a Danitrio, and this is the Chinkin Kage Momata on Takumi. We have a Mr. Cypress Eggshell 01, a Mr. Cypress, and this is the Eggshell 05A. We have a Mr. Cypress Eggshell 06. We have a Danitrio, and this is a Ancient Dragon on Higher. We have the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath and the Taccia Miyabi Empress Winter's Breath. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So this one here is a little bit on the thin side. Looks a little bit like a pencil, to be honest, compared to the other oversized pens that I have in my collection. It is a thin pen, but it is nice, and I did know it was going to be somewhat thin, maybe not as thin as this, but I did know it was going to be short. Now you'll see here that it's got a Orchid leaf gold imprint into what is an Akatamanuri base, with a lot of gold glitter there as well. Really is quite spectacular. I do like this a lot. You can't feel it. It's the lacquer is already covering that, but it is nice. I think it adds a lot of character to the pen. It comes with a number 6 size Mr. Cypress nib there, and I got a medium nib on this one. It is a cartridge converter, and I can show you that here, but you can see there that the section isn't that much wider than the actual converter, so it is quite a thin pen. I think the section is around about 10 millimeters, so it is a thin pen. I typically don't like going below about 11 and a half millimeters in a section. I think the body was about 14 and a half maybe, but it does taper down to the end here. Now I can post the cap. It will post. It won't post deeply, but it will post securely, so it's not coming off if I shake the pen. But it is Urushi, and I know Urushi lacquer is very hard lacquer, so that you shouldn't, in theory, mark it. However, I have heard horror stories of people marking Urushi and likewise scratching it. So I typically don't normally post my caps. I will do on the videos to show you here, but I won't in normal daily use. The next pen here is the Danitrio, and this is the Moonlit Grass. And this was a pen that I bought secondhand from a friend, William Shakur. And I do need to reach out to William actually, because I've not heard from him for a while. Hope he's doing okay. This does have grass here, and you can see all of that grass, and then you have the moon, so hence the Moonlit Grass. Beautiful pen. William had this in his collection. He was selling a load of pens. I want to say maybe 30-40 pens, maybe more even. And I saw this here, and he was offering me at the time a Classic Pens LB5. And I saw this on there, and I said, wait, you have a Danitrio? He said, yeah, I do. And I said, I want it. And he said, well, I didn't think you would want that. I'm like, of course I would. So I managed to strike a deal with him on this one. It is a cartridge converter. You have the number 6 size fireball nib there. Has some stars there on the section. Very, very nice pen. You can post the cap, but it won't post deeply. It will post securely as well. But again, I just don't want to post my caps a lot of the time, because I'm just worried that I'm going to wake up one day and I'm going to take a pen out of my pen drawer and I'm going to look at it on camera and I'm going to see a scratch there and it will just bug me to death. And that I'm sure probably you could maybe use some micro mesh and just be very careful, but you're going to be removing some of that surface, and then if it's an Akatamanuri, you're then effectively going to sort of change the color. So again, it's just not ideal. So I'd rather not scratch it in the first place. The next pen here is a Mr. Cypress, and I call this the Maple Leaf. The real name for Mr. Cypress is Maple in the Woods. I typically call it Maple Leaf because it is maple leaves. It's a nice autumny coloured pen. The lovely autumn leaves, beautiful there on a black background with a lot of glitter there as well, or dust. Beautiful with gold coloured ends. So you got the cap finial here, and then you got the end cap here. Very textured. I can really feel this pen, and it has a lot of sort of like bronzy, goldy glitter there on the section, and a number 6 size Mr. Cypress gold nib. It's a 14 karat gold nib on this one, same as this one, 14 karat gold. I can't post the cap, it's not designed to do so. All the Mr. Cypress come with a Schmidt K5 converter. If you don't know, Schmidt K5s are typically, they use the international standard of converters, and pretty much any pen that you get, whether or not it's a Benu, whether or not it's an Esterbrook, whether or not it's a custom made pen, anything that uses what is normally classed as an international standard converter will most likely be using a Schmidt K5. So that's just an interesting tidbit there. The next pen here is the Danitrio Chinkin Kage Momata on Takumi. Now, Takumi is the shape of the body, and it's a Chinkin pen, which is a scratched surface, and then they fill it with various gold and other colors. And this is just a beautiful work of art. And I think it was March 22 that I got this pen. The interesting story behind it was there was another pen that I had been lusting after for about 6 months, and I just hadn't been able to bring myself to buy the pen. And then I went back, it was there at the pen show, and then I went back and it had sold. So I kind of was a little bit gutted, but then it actually made me open my eyes and look at the other pens, and I was very tempted to bring back 2 Urushi pens, and I'd already purchased this one from John at St. John's Pens, and I decided I needed to get another one, and I saw this and I said, actually, you know what, I really like those flowers. So I decided, I don't normally do black pens, but I decided the gold looked really nice. It has a number 6 size Fireball fine nib. Again, it's a decent size in my hand. I can post that cap if I want to. Typically, I do not. It's a cartridge converter, and I think ultimately it's a beautiful pen, and glad that I picked it up when I did. Glad that I ultimately didn't pick up the other pen, because as nice as the other pen was, I thought it was maybe a little bit too bling, and I say that in hindsight because these are actually pretty blingy pens, and these two. But yeah, I'm glad that I didn't pick that pen up and I picked this one up instead. I have been on a bit of a kick lately, and this is the Mr. Cypress Eggshell 01. I like this pen a lot. It's a flat-topped pen. It's not a cigar shape. And you can see on the cap finial and also on the blind cap here, you've got the eggshell. Now, these are duck's eggs. A lot, like Taccia use quail's eggs. These are duck's eggs. Not quite as fine as the quail's eggs would be, But then you've got these abalone stripes or strips that are cut and then laid onto the pen, Urushi lacquered. I just think it's a beautiful pen. I like the bit where there's a lot of black between segmenting the two. It is a number 6 size a nib, Mr. Cypress 14 karat gold nib there. You can't post the caps because they are flat tops and not going to be designed to do so. Cartridge converters, really, really good pens. I can't say enough about Mr. Cypress. They use third-party artisans for most of their pens, but the quality of the artwork is insane compared to a Taccia, which is sometimes 3 to 5 times the cost of what a Mr. Cypress is. I'd have to say that it really is a good price. So and you can get them with steel nibs. I think though for an upsell of $90 to get a 14 karat gold nib, it would be silly not to. If you want to sell it later, that will probably sell the pen more than a steel nib would. But these are really good quality pens. The next one here is again a Mr. Cypress Eggshell, and this is 05A. The only difference between the A and I think there was a B was it was where the Raden was positioned on the pen. And when I say Raden, the abalone shell. Again, it is a flat top pen, you can see there. These are not spring loaded. You do get a glittery section. That is a very glittery. Again, it is abalone shell. I almost want to say that they shred the abalone shell and then just I honestly do not know how they do it, but to me this looks like abalone shell, and it looks as though maybe they just take a file to it and it's just the dust, and then they lacquer that onto the section. It's a Mr. Cypress 14 karat gold nib. Again, cartridge converter, not designed to post. So, but it is a good size in my hand. I don't have any issue with the length or girth of this pen. It is for me, it's a really nice size. It's typically the size in terms of length, the girth in terms of width that I do like in a pen. So for me, that's a good fit for my hand. The next one here was actually the first one I bought from Mr. Cypress. This is the Eggshell 06. And the reason why I bought this was because it actually looks like a Taccia Miyabi in terms of the diagonal eggshells and then the abalone strips, the Raden there. It just looks beautiful. What I hadn't noticed when I bought it was that the stripes are going the opposite way to the Taccia. It doesn't bother me. It actually makes it interesting, but it was something that I hadn't realized until it arrived. It has a flat top cap and a flat top end finial here as well. And if I unscrew the cap, again, you have a little bit of a sparkly section. It's nowhere near as sparkly as this one. But you have an 18 karat gold Mr. Cypress nib on here. And it's interesting because you can buy these pens with steel nibs if you want. For the cheapest upgrade is $90 for a 14 karat gold Mr. Cypress gold nib. If you want to upgrade to an 18 karat gold Mr. Cypress, instead of $90, you're paying $120. And then if you wanted a Bok or Yovo 18 karat gold nib, you're looking at $180. So honestly, if you look at the price there, 14. Okay, it's a 14 karat gold, but you're looking at half the price of an 18 karat gold Bok or Yovo nib. So I think in itself that is a really good. All of the Mr. Cypress use Schmidt K5 international converters. Really easy to use and very easy to clean. And if anything fails in that converter, then obviously you can replace it for probably the cost of £3, euros, US dollars. It really is It's a cheap mechanism, but it's one that you can fix yourself easily if something were to go wrong with that converter. Whereas a piston, a power vac, a plunger, you have to send it back to the manufacturer. If Mr. Cypress used those, then you'd have to send it back to Taiwan. Like any pen manufacturer, the last thing you want to do is send a pen back for repair. So I think having a cartridge converter is a good middle ground in terms of cleaning the pen and also repairing the pen. And likewise, this is a Danitrio. This is the Danitrio Ancient Dragon on Hayatan. But again, Danitrio, for the most part, use cartridge converters. Yes, these are not cheap pens. Yes, they are expensive pens. And a lot of people think that you shouldn't have a converter in an expensive pen. I disagree. And I did, a number of years ago, think the same kind of way, but now I don't, because I realise I have had pistons or power vacs break, and they are a pain to send the whole pen back. I've not had it in any Danitrios. I have had it in a few pens. I've had it in a Visconti, I think several in a Visconti. I've had a Noto. I've had an Atelier Lusso where the cap wouldn't screw on. Obviously, that's not a filling mechanism, but ultimately, I've had pneumatic fillers, the sac fillers, where the sacs have broke down and congealed. So again, you'd have to send, most of the time, you'd have to send the pen away. So this is why I typically do like cartridge converters. I know a lot of people will hate on them and say that they shouldn't be in expensive pens, but I disagree. I really think, I think once you start having piston and power vac or pneumatic fillers, and you start having some of them break, then you will change the way that you think with cartridge converters. Now, this is a lovely number 6 size Danitrio Fireball nib there. It's a good size because of the thinner area here around the end cap. You can post that cap fairly deeply and securely. I don't post my caps usually, but you can do. You do have a little bit of work here, so I do shudder to post my caps. It does have a lot of threads on this one. That's the only issue I would say that it's not an issue, but it's the only thing I would say that I wish there weren't as so many threads on that pen, because it does take a lot of time to unscrew and screw on that cap. The next pen is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. Again, another Macchie Braden abalone shell. You can see that I do kind of like these pens, and they just are really beautiful, or at least to me, beautiful to the eye of the beholder, as they say. I don't know, maybe you don't like these, maybe you do. I do, so I typically have, obviously, as you can see, bought a few of these, and I do just like it. This has a Taccia nib made by Sailor. It's a number 6 nib. These are cartridge converters. All of these are. It's not like the Sailor Realo. Taccia haven't yet gone the route of pistons. You can post that cap. It will post. Again, I'm not normally one to post my caps. You do have this spring-loaded mechanism, so you push in and twist to engage, and then you can let go and you just twist it. But that pattern always lines up every single time. When a pattern will line up every single time, it's always because it has a single thread cut. Sometimes you can have 2 or 3 threads. Typically, I think I've seen 1, 3, and 5 thread starts. So if you have a single thread start like this, then you will always have that pattern line up. If you have a 3 thread starter or a 5 thread starter, you've got a 1 in 3 chance of getting it to line up, or 2 in 3 to not have it line up, and likewise 1 in 5 or 4 in 5. So typically in pens like this, they typically do a 1 thread start. You might ask why only a 1-thread start, why not a 3-thread? Typically, if one of those threads breaks for whatever reason, with a 3 or a 5 start, you can still screw the cap on. It's just you've got to engage one of the other thread start points. With a single thread start, you will not then be able to screw that cap on. That said, out of nearly 300 pens, I have had over 300 pens. I've only had one where the thread has broken. So I don't think it's a common thing. So personally, I don't worry about it. But I have had one. It was an Atelier Lusso, which I sent back, and Eric managed to, I think he put some epoxy glue over the threads and then recut the threads, and it's been fine ever since. And actually the cap did screw on. It was just that it would never screw tight. It just kept jumping off the end of the thread, so you could just keep turning through infinity. Then the last pen here is a Taccia Miyabi Empress Winter's Breath. So this is slightly more girthier. You also have a black Urushi here on the clip, and then also eggshell there as well. But again, just like the other one, the Miyabi Winter's Breath, beautiful pen. Quail's eggs, both of these are crushed quail's eggs. A very chunky section here, but also a very large number 8 size King of Pen style nib. The Taccia nibs are made by Sailor, so this is a Sailor King of Pen nib, but it's an 18 karat gold, not a 21 karat gold nib. So that's the subtle difference between Taccia and Sailor. Although I have heard rumours that they might be bringing a Taccia 21 karat gold nib out. I don't know for sure, but they might be. You can post a cap. Again, though, it's not going to post that deeply or securely. Urushi is actually quite a tough material, so you shouldn't, in theory, scratch or chip or mar that. But because there's lots of very fine eggshells, even though it's got a coating of Urushi lacquer over the top of it, I would be worried that maybe one might somehow scratch too deep and flake off. So for me, I just will not post my caps on any Urushi or Maki pens in daily use. So there you have it. That's my Kage ink pens for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen here is the Mr. Cypress Orchid Leaf Vow-B. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is an interesting ink. I haven't used this ink much, but it's I want to say it's a little bit of an orangey red, a little bit more of a dusty red maybe once it's dried. So this is the Mr. Cypress, and I wonder why they're called Mr. Cypress. It confused me when I first heard of Mr. Cypress because they're based in Taiwan. And I want to think that Mr. Cypress would be based in Cyprus, but clearly not. So yeah, this is an interesting one. But this is the Orchid Leaf. And it's a medium, and it's a 14 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Van Vustus. And it's Rosa Canina, which is quite a nice ink. I would say that most of the Mr. Cypress nibs I have been pretty well tuned out of the box. I don't know if they do tune them. I think there was a couple I did have to smooth out of 5, but 3 of them were perfect out of the box. The next pen here is a Danitrio, and this is the Moonlit Grass. So we'll do an ink swatch. And again, another red ink, but this is quite a nice red ink, I would say. So this is the Danitrio, Moonlit Grass, and it's a fine 18 karat gold nib, and the ink in here is Diamine Wild Strawberry. And if you wonder why I have strawberry, yeah. If you wonder why I have so many Diamine inks, it's because I live in the UK and that's where Diamine are from. And typically the inks are probably the cheapest inks that you're going to find in the UK. So for me, it just makes sense to have a lot of Diamine inks. The next pen here is a Mr. Cypress, and it's Maple in the Woods, or Maple Leaf, like I want to call it all the time. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And you can see here, this is a lovely autumny colour. And we are in autumn now, or getting towards autumn. So this is the Mr. Cypress. And it's Maple in the Woods. I do think that maybe they should drop the Mr. and just call it Cypress. But I guess in terms of trademark and that, Mr. Cypress would probably work better for them. So it's a medium, and it's a 14 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Heban, and it's Amber de Burmanie. Now, I do find that the Mr. Cypress nibs do have a bit of feedback. This is Orchid optic paper. If I write on Temuray River, I don't typically find a feedback, but I do on other paper. The next pen inked up is the Danitrio Chinkin Kage Momata. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see it's a nice brown. So this is the Danitrio Chinkin Kage Momata. It's actually on Takumi, and it's a fine, and it's a 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot, Awashizuku, and it is a Sakushi, Horse's Tail, which is actually a discontinued ink from Pilot. Maybe they'll bring it back. Who knows? Maybe they'll bring it back in the Manyo series of inks. It is a shame. I like that. I like Inaho, which typically is another ink that I put in this pen a lot as well. But I have Sakushi in it this week. The next pen inked up is the Mr. Cypress Eggshell 01. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this has a lot more purple abalone shell in it, so I decided I would ink it up with a purpley mauvey blurple colour. So this is the Mr. Cypress Eggshell 01, and it's a medium, and it's a 14 karat gold nib. Now, people ask me what's better, 14 karat gold or an 18 karat gold. Honestly, in most cases, you are not going to recognize any difference whatsoever. Typically, the more gold, the softer the nib should be, the less alloy. So a lot of people think a 14 karat gold is a flex nib, which is actually, it has more alloy in it, but it has alloy in it to stop it bending once and not bending back. So an 18 karat gold and a 21 karat gold are typically more likely to spring their tines. And you might find that they are, I typically find them more rigid, but I have some 14 karat gold nibs that are really bouncy. Others are as hard as a nail, like a steel nib, and exactly the same for some 18 karat gold. So it really is difficult to tell. It really depends on the amount of alloy and what alloy they're using and mixing in with that gold. So an 18 karat gold is 750, which is 75% gold. And then a 14 karat is 585, so 58.5% gold, and then the rest is alloy. Anyway, the Mr. Cypress Eggshell 01 is inked up with Pilot, Awashizuku, Aji Sei, which is a beautiful ink, but I just thought I would actually go through the difference, because I know a lot of people more recently have been asking me, what's the difference between 14 and 18 karat gold nibs? Which one should I go for? Do I want a bouncy nib or I want a firm nib? And honestly, I'd say go with what you think. If you can test the nib first, test the nib, because not all 14 carats are going to be bouncy, and likewise, not all 18 karat golds are going to be stiff. The next pen inked up is the Mr. Cypress, and this is the Eggshell 05A. And we'll do an ink swatch here on this one. And I wanted to ink this up with, again, another purple. But I thought, well, if I do, I'm actually going to forget which one's which. So I figured I would ink this up with a green. There is a bit of green, a bit of purple in that abalone shell. So this is a Mr. Cypress Eggshell, and it's a 05A, and this is a 14 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Rohr and Klinger, and it's Verdura. Now, I get comments about my handwriting a lot, and I get people telling me that my handwriting is so neat. I do not think my handwriting is neat, and I wish it was neater. But I know a lot of people have commented that my handwriting is quite neat. I do need to practice more, and I do write a lot of letters, but I need to... I write fast, and you probably see it on here, especially when I'm writing in uppercase characters, that I do write fast. And my brain, I want to slow my brain down so that I write slower, but I always have trouble doing that. I do need to really practice a little bit more. The next pen here is the Mr. Cypress Eggshell 06. And yeah, I would like to improve my handwriting more. I think it's not bad. It's a lot better than it was maybe 5-10 years ago. But I would like it to be a little bit better than what it is now. So this is a Mr. Cypress, and I can try and slow it down there, but it's not really improving my handwriting, at least not at this moment in time. But maybe you get a little bit more consistency here. So this is the 06 in a medium. This one is an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, Appetite. But I think if I had the time, if I wasn't working 5 days a week, I probably would do a lot more practicing of my handwriting. I did actually do quite a bit of practicing. I think when I started in 2016, back into pens, and also maybe every couple of years I've done a little bit of practicing, a little bit of flourishing as well. But my handwriting is what it is at the moment. The next pen here is a Danitrio, and this is the Ancient Dragon on Hayatan. and it has a lot of threads, but we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, interestingly, this is supposed to be an Akatamanuri finish, but in a lot of cases, I think it's more closer to Toki Tamanuri. So this is the Danitrio Ancient Dragon. On Hayatan, which is the model or shape. It's a medium and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Poppy Red. But I think if I wasn't writing a lot of letters a week, if I wasn't working, I probably would practice my handwriting a little bit more. I'm happy with how my handwriting looks, but I think all of us would prefer to improve our handwriting to some level. I'm not a calligrapher, so there's no way I can do some of the fantastic calligraphy, and I know I wouldn't be able to. As much as I would try and have tried, I'm just not into hugely flourishing letters and that. The next pen inked up is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. We'll do an ink swatch here. And I think I'd probably, if I could put my mind to it and do a lot of practicing, I probably could do some flourishing, but I don't think I could learn, say, Spencerian as much as I'd love to. I just don't have the time or the inclination to, and I think I would struggle. I think you have to learn that over not only many years but probably decades as well. So this is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. And you've got to get, when you're doing calligraphy like that, you need to be absolutely consistent, not only with the same letter every time, but also every letter. And I just wouldn't be able to do that. So this is a broad, it's an 18 karat gold nib on the Taccia. And then the ink in here is Pelican Edelstein Topaz, which is a beautiful ink. I love that ink to death. I did recently, I think it was in August, buy another bottle of that because I thought I was getting low, and I wasn't that low, but I bought another bottle just in case. And then the last pen inked up is a Taccia Miyabi Empress Winter's Breath. So we'll do a final ink swatch here. And this is a green ink, and I do like this ink. It's a green I've come to love a little bit more. So this is the Taccia Miyabi Empress Winter's Breath. And it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Diamine Ultra Green, which is a green that I like quite a bit. And I bought one 30ml bottle of it, and then I kind of bought about another 4, I think it was. The 30ml bottles are plastic, they're small, they're easy to store compared to the 80ml bottles. And I just thought I was using it a lot, so I would buy some more to replenish. And yeah, I probably shouldn't have bought another 4, but hey ho, unfortunately that's what I do. So there you have it. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. We have a Mr. Cypress, and this is the Orchid leaf in a medium 14 karat gold nib with a Venvustus Rosa Canina. We have a Danitrio Moonlit grass in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Wild Strawberry. We have a Mr. Cypress Maple in the Woods medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with Heban Amber de Burmany. We have a Danitrio Chinkin Kage Momata on Takumi in a fine 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pilot Washizuku Sakushi. We have a Mr. Cypress Eggshell 01 in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with Pilot Iwashizuku Aji Sei. We have a Mr. Cypress Eggshell 05A in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with Roar and Klinger Verdura. We have a Mr. Cypress Eggshell 06 in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Appetite. And I may look at changing this ink at some point to something else. I do find it's a little bit on the lighter side. The next pen inked up is a Danitrio Ancient Dragon Hayatan in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Poppy Red. We have a Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. And then last but not least, we have a Taccia Miyabi Empress Winter's Breath in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Ultra Green. So there you have it. That's my current ink pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.